On the broad expanse of the Corinthian plateau above the Gulf of Corinth, the American school has been engaged for 50 years in exploring the remains of the ancient emporium, whose area extends up to the slopes of Acro Corinth. Operations are conducted from a field house on the outskirts of the excavations. Today, as in antiquity, the Temple of Apollo is the heart of the ancient Corinthian settlement. Past it ran the main thoroughfare of the old city, the broad, marble-paved Lycian road, lined on both sides with shops and houses, and leading up to the civic center, or agora proper, the square, as it looked in the 2nd century A.D. Leaving the Lycian road on the left, one passes through a complex of shop and house foundations to reach the central water supply system of ancient Corinth, the spring of Pyrene. From its underground sources, the winged horse Pegasus stopped to drink, and to its waters were ascribed virtues not found in ordinary springs. In even the smallest of Greek villages today, one finds that much of the life of the community revolved around a modern counterpart of ancient Pyrene, providing a source of water for household use, as well as a cool storage receptacle for water and wine jars. Other buildings uncovered at Corinth include the open-air theater of the Greek period and the sanctuary of Asclepius, the ancient god of healing. These were dining benches for the use of patients who lived in the hospital complex while they sought a cure for their ailments. The offertory box of the shrine. Its massive dimensions alone would discourage pilferage. Hundreds of terracotta reproductions of parts of the body, thank offerings of grateful patients, are testimonials to the successful curative power of the Asclepiad. Old Corinth is still a center of religious ritual. Each summer, the festival of Saints Peter and Paul brings thousands of devout pilgrims through the excavation area to the rostrum on which St. Paul stood to plead his case before the Roman governor Gallio. The bishops of Corinth, of Pactos and Gartin conduct the ceremony on the ancient platform. Many of the most interesting objects found at Corinth have come from wells abandoned in antiquity and filled with the debris of neighboring houses and shops. Several such wells dug last season provided a great deal of information on the life and customs of the ancient Corinthians. After the digger and his buckets are brought to the surface, the work of sorting and evaluating the finds begins. The muddy fill must be carefully sifted for fragments of ancient vases, roof tiles, coins, and other remains. The objects are then put in a cleansing bath and scrubbed gently to remove the encrustations of the centuries. a well-preserved lion's head spout, such as was used to drain rainwater from the roofs of ancient buildings. The infinite number of platzards found in any well present a special problem. The vases had been broken in antiquity and discarded for that reason. Their descent into the well completed the process of destruction. To restore them to their original shape is comparable to fitting together a jigsaw puzzle with parts missing. But experienced technicians develop an amazing skill in joining the minute sherds. After the majority of pieces have been found and glued together, the missing sections are restored in plaster. Finally, after hours of tedious labor, the workman proudly polishes the reconstructed vase. In this case, a fine example of the 6th century Corinthian cup. Another vase from the same fill, handsomely decorated and burnished. Every excavation object must be accurately catalogued for future study. Here, the director of the Corinth excavations checks over the articles which have been found and restored. This particular well had served an ancient tavern, and its vases are for the most part the common wine pitchers and cups of the period. Many of them were inscribed with toasts to love, to health, to wine, and to a cure for hangover. This one salutes the wine god Dionysus. A number of the primitive oil lamps of the time were found. To date, over 3,000 of these have been discovered at Corinth alone. Among the other diversions of an ancient Corinthian tavern were games of chance. From the same well came a marble gaming board and many sets of knuckle bones for the contest. In Greek taverns today, one sees much the same kind of game being played. So the excavation workmen need no instruction in the use of their equipment. Refreshment is served in beakers used centuries ago by the tavern's clientele. To entertain his guests, the long-dead tavern owner had provided music rendered by Corinthian geisha girls. Numerous fragments of bone were found in the ancient fill. When joined, these were revealed as the flutes used by the musicians. Restoration has given us their size and shape, which, interestingly enough, differ little from the flutes of Greece today. On the outskirts of the Corinth excavations is a museum built in 1934 through the generosity of Mrs. Ada Small Moore of New York. This houses all the excavation material. The visitor entering from the museum courtyard comes first to the long sculpture gallery, in which is the bust of Herodes Atticus, famous benefactor of the ancient city. Its reverent inscription, "Herodes walked here," implies that Corinthians worshiped the ground on which he trod. Along the walls of the gallery stand monumental statues erected to commemorate other prominent men whose efforts had enlarged and beautified the city. Profiles from the same mold, an ancient philosopher and a modern one. Among the many statuettes is this replica of the Aphrodite of Corinth, a tiny terracotta cart and animals from a votive deposit. Horse and griffin mosaic. This Byzantine relief of a lion jumping for grapes was undoubtedly inspired from real life. A beautifully modeled lion's head spout from the Corinthian Civic Building. At Corinth, Athens, and many other sites, the excavations of the American School have uncovered material of deep historic and artistic significance, and in so doing, have added immeasurably to our knowledge of the life and times of ancient Greece. The importance of this archaeological work is not limited to the student of history and of the arts. Today, it means employment for hundreds of Greek workmen and a vital contribution to the rebuilding of a devastated land. Before the war, Greece's economy was in large measure dependent on revenue from travelers attracted by the beauty of the countryside and the monuments of an illustrious past. By increasing the tourist assets of Greece, the American School is helping to restore stability and well-being to this simple pastoral land. For Maria, Indicent Solomon. For seafaring Yargi on the docks of Piraeus. For Papa Demetrius in his Peloponnesian church. For hard-working Eleni in Old Corinth. And for all the humble people of Greece, wherever they may be. The work of the school brings with it a renewed hope that they may live out their days in peace and contentment, secure in the heritage of their ageless land.